You are listening to the Push Media Podcast Network.
This is good shit.
Or maybe I'm crazy. Oh, it's crazy and it's true. And I would do anything for love. But I won't do that. Rest in peace to Meatloaf, you son of a bitch. Man, I mean, like, how many times have someone taken a rock opera and that someone actually made it a bop? I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my feet to the top of my heads. I would do anything for love may very well be in very close competition with I'm Sorry, Miss Jackson for one of the strongest songs of all time. And I mean that sincerely. And if you think I'm just riding a wave, if you think I'm just some macabre fucko with a podcast trying to, get headlines off of talking about dead celebrities, I am 100% that person. But I promise you in this instance, I am not doing that. Meatloaf is an icon. He is an American treasure, a national hero. And if you don't know who Meatloaf is, I'll paint you a picture. Well, first, before I paint you a picture of Meatloaf, let me tell you, if you're someone who listens to this show, and I almost had a lisp for a minute, but I got it back. If you're someone who listens to this show and you're older than me, allow me to give you additional reasons to hate me. I first was introduced to the American icon Meatloaf through the former president's reality TV show, Welcome to America. I didn't do this. I'm just coming up in it. So don't blame me if I say some stupid shit from time to time. But in all seriousness, I first found out who Meatloaf was through watching The Celebrity Apprentice with former President Donald Trump. Truly. And when I had my mom explain to me who Meatloaf was, like why he was a celebrity, she explained to me, followed by the greatest YouTube video of all time, Meatloaf performing his smash hit from his greatest selling album of all time, I think. I don't know if that's still accurate, but it's definitely up there. Check the fucking scoreboard. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell, it's like 75 million albums, and it's still fucking selling. If you watch this guy, who at no point in his life was ever considered by, traditional standards handsome, good looking, he was someone who was a little bit pudgy, he was a little tall, he looked particularly Italian, not in a good way, you know what I mean? But he was like in that shit, dog. He was wearing tight jumpsuits and he was transforming opera, the fucking medium that tells a story through the way of singing that everyone unanimously hates the most, into the most current and seminal transformative piece of music that will inspire you to run through a goddamn brick wall and propose to the woman of your dreams. All because of Meatloaf. Don't you ever disrespect Meatloaf, okay? I might be disproportionately passionate about Meatloaf. I'm not even going to stop and laugh at myself here because I'm so goddamn serious. Rest in peace to Meatloaf. Yeah, he might have died because he refused to get vaccinated and he said, if I get it, it kills me. But meanwhile, I'm super terrified. But I'm not going to let COVID ruin or control my life. Shout out Meatloaf for keeping that rock star energy throughout his whole life to the point of it actually being his demise. But I'm not going to get on a soapbox and start bitching at Meatloaf for being against the vaccine because he's fucking stupid. And now look at yourself, dead. Because there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of people who have contributed to society in ways you, me, your mom, your girlfriend, your mom again, who I have a very close relationship with. It's a running theme on the show. No one will ever contribute to society in the way some few have. Steve Jobs, for example, maybe one of the most influential people that have ever lived. And I know it's a hot take to be like, bro, did he even code? How about you, bro? Shut the fuck up. Get your own apartment. He changed the world. He changed the way things happen. That being said, when Steve was told, hey, you have pancreatic cancer, here's the course of action that will more than not, let's say 90% cure it and keep you alive until you die of natural causes. He said, I hear you. I'm going to eat oranges. But I'm not going to bitch at Steve for that because he did so much. He gave so much to society. He changed the world so intensely, and maybe not even for the better, but probably. You have to have a certain level of completely non-functioning stupidity in your brain. Maybe stupidity is not the right word, but there has to be some part of you that's like 10% barely allowed to be not institutionalized all the time, to be that level of genius that can push and shape culture that much. Meatloaf, classic example. Did he invent the iPhone? Might as well fucking should have for my money, but no, he gave us an anthem that will inspire all those with a beating fucking pulse. So I'm not going to berate him for ultimately his death kind of being his own fault here. It sucks, but life is very confusing. I'd like to say that's also a theme on the show, but that's also just a theme in life, okay? I'm sure you're very confused. You're probably confused right now. Some of you are confused as to, like, meatloaf, like the dish, like the food, and to those people, I hope your kids forget how to read, okay? This is the last time I'll say it. If you don't respect Meatloaf, if you don't even know who he is, I truly, really, sincerely wish that whenever you have children, whenever you meet the man or woman of your dreams, you start a family. Let's say you have 2, 3 kids. Maybe those kids are doing really well in school. Maybe your youngest is a star soccer player. Granted, she's 6, and what is she going to do with that skill? Take that and go pro? Fuck off. Maybe your oldest, maybe he has a passion for music. Maybe he's 12 years old, just got his first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime. I hope all those kids from that wonderful, happy family that you are enjoying and just set up forget how to read one night. I hope all your kids forget how to read. And then when you are struggling to call doctors, look up WebMD, Googling, why did my kids forget how to read? Why can't my kids read now? What happened? I hope it is at that moment you remember listening to a podcast that really at this point in the story, fast forwarding into the future, I'm sure is as big as Joe Rogan's, or at the very least, Tim Dillon's. I'm sure that when you're panicking as to why your children have forgotten the ability to read, you will remember me telling you, you did not respect Meatloaf enough. So for the final time, rest in peace to Meatloaf, you son of a bitch. So a lot of people are confused. Some people are confused as to like, what the fuck? And I say this fully concerned. What the fuck is going on in the Ukraine? I'm sure the people in the Ukraine are very confused as to, hey, what the fuck, or however you say that in Ukrainian. I was once told I was partially Ukrainian 10, 15 years ago maybe, and I just rolled through life thinking, oh, I'm a little bit Ukrainian. So I was just, cool with it. And I come from a part of Philadelphia that has a pretty, strong Russian, Ukrainian, Armenian, Eastern Bloc type population. I don't exactly know why or how that happened, but they just decided to come to this part of Philadelphia. So I know a lot of Russians, Armenians, the Ukrainians. I thought I was a fucking Ukrainian. And then, before I found out how fucking evil the Mormons were, I decided to do an Ancestry.com test, and I spit in a cup, sent it to the Mormons. They probably baptized me into their church without my knowledge. And then they told me I'm not Ukrainian at all. I'm like 3% Baltic. That doesn't really relate to the potential World War III situation, but now I got to explain to all of you that I'm 3% Baltic. So if any of you know what the fuck that means, I would be very interested to know. Baltic is not a country. Explain to me where Baltic is. Sounds like something that helps you do laundry. But to more pressing matters than my mistaken case of Ukrainian identity, Russia. And don't you just love when the universe says, hey, you think you've made a point? You think you have a good idea? You stated it publicly? You're fucking wrong now. Just when I finished an episode saying, hey, Russia is an enemy, but they're not like really an enemy, They're still Russia at the end of the day. You feel me, cousin? At the end of the day, we're still talking about the Ruskies. You know what I'm saying? Like Russian people, from my firsthand experience and just, history and paying attention in school and shit, the Russian people, I think you would be very, very hard pressed to find a group of people that can withstand so much a more hardworking, weathered, selfless, get the job done, fuck comfort, fuck feelings. This is what happens, bitch, motherfucker. This is Russia. You know what I'm saying? Like they're a bad collection of motherfuckers. These are people who for the last hundreds of years have just had individuality beaten out of them. They've been imprisoned and they've had state-sponsored atheism shoved down their throat. So this is a group of people that while I do not think will be winning Nobel Prizes anytime soon, their main defense strategy in war is to burn their own house down. I do think these are some motherfuckers we should be concerned about. And I know I am immediately contradicting something I've said earlier, but newsflash, welcome to the program. I just say things. And I record them. And you listen. So that makes you part of the problem, bud. Russia, if you haven't been following the story, and believe me, I've been doing my absolute best not to follow the story. Because for a couple of reasons. First being, anytime we start talking about military conflicts between countries that are far away from here, where I can't begin to understand the complexities or nuances as to the conflicts in the first place, I certainly can't understand how America has any stake in any of it at all. Because in my heart, I kind of want to be like an isolationist, because it's an easy idea to be like, ain't here, fuck them. And that is the simplest answer. But, face facts, grow up, be a decent human being, which is not as common as I once thought. And understand that if we're going to be America, if we're going to have the largest military in the history of the world, let alone the technology and weapons attached to it, you're kind of going to, by de facto, have to play the role as global police. And honestly, and I know it's pretty nationalistic of me to say, it's not terrible here. It's a pretty decent way of life. Granted, there's aspects of it that certainly suck. There's places in the world that do certain parts of this thing called motherfucking life a whole lot better than America, but I don't think there's that many of them. So, when the criticism of America getting involved in all these global conflicts is, hey, not our place, why are we over there? Isn't it a little bit racist to show up and say, hey, let's push the American way of life on you? I get it. I hear you. Maybe there's an argument to that. You certainly don't want to show up against people's will and, force your way of life on them. Or you do, and maybe you get the greatest country of all time in about 300 years after you first touched down. Who knows? I'm not saying what happened to the Native Americans was right, but I am saying what I just said because that's how words work. You feel that. I know you do. So Russia is apparently, and I certainly didn't see it coming, but I'm not working in foreign relations, feeling pretty fucking frisky. They're feeling froggy. Putin feeling froggy gonna leap, okay? The former KGB agent apparently ain't to be fucked with. That's my bad. That's on me. That's on me. Because I'm always pointing out, hey, everyone's so quick to bring up Hitler all the time. What about Stalin? If we're talking strictly numbers, that point's been made. I'm not going to finish it. But I guess that's on me to just completely forget. It's still Russia, bitch. So Putin has decided. And Putin's always been trying to get the Ukraine, because the Ukraine, if you look at a map, whether it's flat or not, it's going to show that the Ukraine, in a lot of ways, is a country that sort of is one of the last borders before we hit the Middle East. It's kind of one of the last European-ish, and I don't even really want to say Western countries, because obviously Russia's not Western. Culturally, you get the point. What I'm trying to say is the Ukraine is valuable for a few reasons. Its geographical position. It's also rich in natural resources. I think like lithium and shit, the stuff that goes in batteries maybe, or bullets. I don't know. It's the Ukraine. Point is, the bigger issue is that the enforcement of the Ukrainian sovereignty, like the groups of other countries that are going to protect the Ukraine from pending invasion from Russia, include a lot of people like America, NATO, all of the Western. So, and if this story is starting to sound familiar, if you're starting to think, hey, wasn't the last time there was like arguably a minor conflict between two countries that didn't seem like a big global deal, or the act itself certainly didn't affect our way of life. But all of a sudden, because of like weird political red tape and diplomacy and previously made arrangements and partnerships that each country that got involved therefore had to bring other countries that it had previous standing engagements and relationships with also had to get involved. Next thing you know, Winston Churchill, World War II, Treaty of Versailles, and then the Nazis end up running NASA. I don't want to have that happen again. Do you? I don't. I want to get the Nazis out of NASA. I got off track. But the point is, World War I happened because Franz Ferdinand, right? Maybe that's the band. I know Ferdinand's in there. The Duke Ferdinand, there you go, got shot, and it was the powder keg that ignited the world. World War II, it was a little harder first for America to get involved. But one by one, little by little, Germany starts to think, hey, we take Britain. All of a sudden, America has to start getting involved. This is how global wars start. And if you are somebody with a brain, you are somebody who has not forgotten how to read, you are somebody who does appreciate meatloaf, you know this. You know this is how this happens. And I'm guilty, very guilty of this myself. I didn't want to follow this story because part of me is like, there's a 15% chance this is the thing that ends up getting me drafted, which is very fucking real. Joe Biden brought the motherfucking draft back. Pay attention, stay woke, stay black. But I didn't want to read this because I didn't want to know how fucking serious it is. But yet here I am doing a little bit of reading and coming to the understanding that the ex-KGB agent has just about had enough and decided, it's it, I'm taking Ukraine. Fuck all y'all, I need this spot. He's going to pull up, and he could take it easily because Russia, Ukraine, look at a map. But then there's added layers to that. Because really, on a global scale, pretty much the only ally that Russia has that Russia can't just butt fuck whenever they decide is China. Now, y'all already know how I feel about China. Big old problem. It's the only thing I know how to say in Mandarin. I'm not even going to tell you what it means. That's up for you to decide. And that's not even Cantonese, okay? I only know Mandarin. China's going to get involved because Russia's going to have to be involved. They've decided to fucking start the whole thing. China gets involved. At that point, America has to get involved. Do you see how this very, very quickly could result in World War III? I would like to share with you a quote from Albert Einstein, a very smart man, a man who married a relative, sure, granted, a man who also invented the theory of relativity. A man who invented the theory of relativity. I don't even know what that means, but I know a little bit more than I used to know what it means, and what I know is that is crazy. I'm not doing a great job elucidating just how important that contribution is, but the theory of relativity, if you can even kind of wrap your head about any of it, completely opens up an entire new understanding of the entire world. Truly and literally. But anyway, back from that. Albert Einstein once said about world wars, I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Consider the implications of that quote. And again, this is a quote coming from a man who worked on the nuclear bomb, okay? This is coming from a man who helped contribute to the bombs that erased 2 Japanese cities from the fucking earth. Heed this man's warning. World War I and II were fought with men, boys in some cases, weapons, guns, planes, bombs. World War II, pretty much the same shit. Vietnam, we introduced chemical war. Well, chemical warfare really started in World War I with the mustard gas, and then there was the Geneva Convention, which really only fucking applies if you're a fucking idiot. I mean, you think the Geneva Convention applies to a black site in the Philippines? That's fucking adorable. But by and large, weapons have gotten wild since then. Did you know the CIA developed in the motherfucking 60s a gun that would kill people but make it look like they died of a heart attack? That's real. That is 1,000% real. And that's in the 1960s. Okay? How many not even influential, how many important people are people at least in some orbit of something controversial? How many engineers who had a lot of opinions about, steel beams? How many physicists or, theoretical physicists who had opinions on game theory? How many of these people who might have died of a heart attack were actually shot by a CIA gun? So the weapons are getting scary. And if we have Russia really, really doing their best to start a World War III, even Albert motherfucking Einstein does not know what weapons will be fought with. We have no idea. The CIA had a future space gun that shot you with heart attacks from the 60s, okay? You want to see what the fuck we have now? I don't. Good news is the CIA also said we don't have to worry about Havana syndrome. The mysterious illness that seems to affect people in intelligence or in very high-stakes foreign relation, situations and kind of just make them go insane. I'm talking suicide-inducing vertigo. CIA was like, turns out we investigated it, don't worry. I sure as fuck think that's probably a weapon for somebody on someone's behalf. That might be used in World War III. But to the second half of Albert Einstein's great quote, after World War III is over and the dust is settled and we've all settled into some weird, variation of Cantonese as our national language, there's going to be another conflict that starts. Maybe it's something heroic. Maybe everyone wants freedom again and Jennifer Lawrence can rile up a bunch of, preteens to fight the government. But probably not going to happen. But then World War IV is going to come around. But we're not going to have anything left because at this point, we're probably just going to be cavemen. Anyone who wants to get riled up by Jennifer Lawrence, any preteen looking to, rebel against the government post-World War III, unfortunately, I left out of the story, most of these people probably live in fucking caves and huts because the fallout of World War III, the war that will undoubtedly involve nuclear weapons, CIA space guns, Agent Orange, Blue, Red, and the whole cast of Reservoir Dogs. All of us, not all of us, I'd say a nice conservative 95% of us will be so dead that those left will, for all intents and purposes, end up entering another Stone Age. So by the time World War IV comes around, according to Albert Einstein at least, we're going to have nothing left to fight each other with than sticks and stones. And the great irony of all this is that Russia is going to be the country that triggers World War III and then the ensuing Stone Age that leaves us with nothing but sticks and stones to fight each other with. The great irony is Russia, I cannot imagine their weapons are much greater than sticks and stones. I mean, let's face it, we're talking about Ruskies, folks. Vladimir, I know you listen to the show. I get it. It's fine. I know you got your bots following me on Twitter. I'm on to them. Tell them to stop. Vladdy boy. Let me tell you. You're in over your head. I get you're mad. I get you're Russian. I get it. I get your people feel like they've been wronged all of their lives. But I hate to break it to you. Your country has a long history of doing it to yourself. Okay? Y'all had it fine with the Romanovs. They were a great family. They were not a family I would wish that their children would forget how to read. Anastasia ended up being in a musical. But that family was killing it in Russia. And then you know what happened? Bolshevik Revolution, Trotsky, whatever, Jay Baruchel, who knows? But then they decided to round up the Romanovs and murder all of them, which then led to a power vacuum, which was then filled by Stalin, Gorbachev, and Putin. Stalin, maybe other than Mao, the second greatest murderer of all time, followed by Gorbachev, who I don't know anything other than the guy who should have tore down the wall. I don't even know if he got around to it. And then Putin, former KGB agent, looks like a wolf in the face. You know what I'm saying? Literally has a wolf face. He has a wolf face. So rather than be such a put upon, depressive, off-putting in conversation group of people, take a look inward and do better electing. I don't know. Maybe don't murder the guy in charge who was doing a fine job. What the fuck motivates you people? I don't understand it. I really don't. I truly don't. And I'm not saying it's easy to overthrow a government, Pussy Riot tried. Look what happened to them. Exactly. But at the same time, Russia, I need a little bit of accountability out of you. I need you. You're good people, by and large. You really are. I mean that. You're hard negotiators, and those that ended up emigrating to the part of Philadelphia where I grew up and ended up at some point selling gym memberships for, you guys are very tough negotiators. When you come in looking for a gym membership, you come in on some crazy shit. That you don't have pool? Why would I sign up at the gym if you don't have pool? You know I'm Russian. I like to swim, splashy, splashy. You people are fucking difficult to talk to. I get it. I have some Russian friends my age that I don't stop with Russian jokes. They're kind of like Polish people to me, only a little bit colder, right? Russian people are so easy to make. The stereotypes just are endless. And I've made Russian jokes to Russian people straight in their face. I have done their silly accent back to their mean-looking face, okay? And for some reason, they haven't hit me in the face. They haven't punched me. Russian people, Ukrainian, the whole Eastern Bloc group of people, I don't know if they think I am some bridge troll thing, or maybe I'm like some giant, or because of my red hair, maybe I'm good luck like a rabbit's tail. I don't know what the fuck happens in Siberia, but for some reason, they're entertained by it. They think this circus clown, who's really just mocking them when I say, you don't have pool? They're like, oh, this is for Russia. He do X, and he fine. You drink with us? And no, I won't. I'm not going to drink with a Russian, because Russians look like they're drunk all the time. They act like they're drunk all the time. The only time a Russian is cool, calm, and collected and ready to do business is when they are blackout drunk. They are a hard group of motherfuckers. Not taking anything away from that. But what I do need from y'all is a little more self-awareness. Maybe if you're involved in a war, your strategy shouldn't be burn down your own house. I get it worked, but we're fighting the Nazis, and how much of this narrative are we going to believe? I'm not that guy. I'm just saying. I'm just playing, but I'm saying. Russians, do better. Maybe stop putting people in power who are fucking wolf-faced KGB agents, because it's going to get us all killed. And I'll be damned if I die because of some Russian. The Russians have fucked with my life personally enough. MK Ultra in this country is in direct response to what the Russians were doing. A lot of the most fucked up elements of America's history, specifically the things the government has done to its own people, I'm talking fake syphilis shots, kidnapping and attempting to create sleeper cell assassins and sex slaves, all of it true. I'm not making it up. This is real. All of the weirdest and darkest parts of American history, the shadowy parts of intelligence, all of that, by and large, in some way can be traced to just us thinking Russia might be doing this, so we should do it also. So Russia, fuck y'all for a lot of that, okay? I can't help but see MK Ultra shit all over the fucking place. Whether or not I'm crazy or it's true. And it is. It's 100% true. Russia, you're going to get us all killed because you just don't fucking act sensefully. You don't think before you do. Everything can't be this narrative where you're doing everything for Mother Russia and it's for Mother Russia, and you've been you're so put upon it, and you're for hundreds of years. My grandmother was taken to the gulag, and my family after family in the farm and stuff. I get it. It sucks. Life's terrible in Russia. Who do you think you're breaking news to? But take initiative, fuckface. Stop doing this. You put in office, and I granted the KGB agent probably strong-armed his way into power, granted. But you did allow, and let's not forget, and I don't know if you could trust the numbers, granted, again, Russia, but Putin has a pretty high approval rating. People in Russia appreciate Putin on some weird, misplaced, hyper-masculine, not to try and be that guy, but some weird masculinity tied to patriotism, which is so long ago turned into jingoism. There's this weird admiration for this strong man, this shirtless, wolf-faced fuckface who rides a horse or something. That's stupid. That's fucking dumb. It's so dumb. It's literally it's superhero shit. Putin is a dictator, obviously. He's a murderer, of course. I get all of that. He's going to start the World War III that sends us into a fucking Stone Age. but he's not even universally hated in his country. What dictator's not hated in his country? That might be a stupid question. I know everyone has to say they're loved or they're killed. I get it, but still. It's not North Korea we're talking about. There's millionaires in Russia. There's a middle class in Russia. They might not know the difference between the refrigerator and the freezer, but there's a middle class in Russia. It's an established place. It's a country. It's a first world country. I mean, for Christ's sakes, they had Edward Snowden as a spy the whole time. They're not that stupid. So show me that you're not that stupid a little more frequently than using Edward Snowden and Oliver Stone to hoodwink all of us into internet privacy. And instead, install a mildly moderate person who doesn't kill everyone or used to work for Stalin. That might be easier said than done. It might be very easy for me to say from this side of the pond, hey, Russians, do better. I get it. But, dog. Bro. Seriously, do better. China's not going to be in a super rush to jump into conflict with us. China is in a very great position. China is the best positioned country probably for the future, I think. They might be horrifically evil. They might be truly an incarnate force of evil that rivals only the Mormon church. But they're not dumb. They're actually fucking geniuses by and large. And they know they have a very good thing pimping out our country's fat people to buy more sweatpants and iPhones. So they're not really trying to fight a, bang, 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 boots on the ground type war. Russia, that's literally all they ever want to do. They don't ever want to do shit other than, maybe set up fake Twitter accounts. It almost is like Russia's military strategy is just stupid. We are strong soldier. We will march until you shoot all of our heads or whatever. And then it seems like that country's maybe Putin's grandson is thinks he's a digital marketer, and he really got a hold of his grandpa's ear, and he's like, listen, we really need to move the country into social media more. What's the Kremlin's social media presence like, bro? Putin, what are your follower counts looking like? Okay? It kind of almost sounds like Russia's strategy of fighting America. Once they realized their stupid old Russian soldier routine won't work, they got talked into some social marketing scam because of some grandson with a laptop walked into the Kremlin and said, let me set up fake Twitter accounts. And by and large, it actually worked. It worked so much that the guy who used to have a great reality show became president. The guy that first introduced me to Meatloaf. Rest in peace. I would do anything for avoiding World War III. I would do anything to avoid World War III. Rest in peace to Meatloaf, you son of a bitch.